good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, wherever you're from. Welcome to today's session where we are going to be talking about future proofing your digital marketing career. Sadly, we have no Holly Starks with us today, but she will be back next week. But before any of that, do check out the sponsor, 38 Digital Market. The link is below if you're interested in digital PR and a whole bunch of other stuff that they do provide. The link is below, so get that deliverable for your clients. Simple and easy at wholesale prices. That's my new line.
I love it. Yeah, wholesale. There we go.
Um,
Best deal on the market.
yes, it is. And obviously, we are joined by Randy, the news guy, as well. So I forgot to introduce you. I mentioned
Sorry.
everything else apart from Randy, and Randy is here as well. So
That's all right. We'll miss Holly. You know, she brings some glamour to the show. So
it wouldn't be hard with us too.
yeah, I know, right?
Um,
Exactly. Kenny Diamond, man, that's like a porn name if I ever heard it.
big
Hey,
fan.
Kenny, good to have you. Good to have you, my man.
But
All right, here's the topic. You ready for this?
let's go.
Future proofing your digital marketing agency. And I'm even going to expand this even a bit broader. Can you future proof not just in digital marketing, but we'll hit there, but can you future proof really anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is, a bit of a stretch. But what do you think, though, Craig? Just future proofing digital marketing, your digital marketing agency or career.
I think, to be honest, obviously people are going to look at this after the update a few weeks ago and go, "Fucking, this is hard work." But I think we've always kind of had to future proof your digital marketing career. I think, even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever, you're always having to evolve and embrace change and scale up and accelerate and a lot of different things. So, for me, coming into SEO and doing SEO is one thing, then you go on to build a business is another, and everything's all about future proofing. You're everything,
Mhm,
even for yourself.
mhm.
Uh, you are wanting to talk at events, you're wanting to sponsor events, you're wanting to do this. Why? Because you're trying to future proof the growth of your grow and future proof your business,
Right,
evolve, add
right.
different services. So I think. Obviously with the recent update, people are going to be pissed off and um, you know disheartened by the update. But I think there's a big difference between future proofing and becoming lazy and expecting the one push button method that we all want, because we are. And I've said it in the mastermind, Randy. We're all lazy bastards. We all
Yeah,
are.
yeah,
We want
yeah.
that quick fix. So I think you have to work a little bit to future proof your business. And I think it can be done. You've just got to um, be smart about it. Try and do different things and try and be up with the latest trends, and even delving into the likes of TikTok and stuff. I think that is future proofing your digital marketing agency. Because some
Mhm.
people say to me, I wouldn't touch TikTok with a barge pole. And all these kind of stupid statements, and you're like, why the fuck not?
Right, right.
Statistically, something like TikTok has more traffic than Google itself, and I think it was round about that at some point last year. I don't know what it's like now, but there was a period of time and you have to take that seriously. You have to say, how the hell can I get
Yeah,
my dirty nose in
yeah,
about this, and how am I going to turn it into money?
yeah.
So yeah, I think it definitely has always had to have been done, but as time comes, things are just happening quicker and faster. That's the thing.
Mhm, mhm. Uh, yeah. Excuse me. Um, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Things, uh, will continue to come at us fast and furious, and how we prepare for those things is obviously critical. Hey, I will remind people, leave a comment if you'd like to join the discussion. We'd love to hear from you. Also, give a thumbs up and like on whatever platform you're listening to and watching. I got spurred onto this particular topic from some stuff that came out a couple of days ago, and Craig, can I share? Just do the present. Here we go. Here we go. So I got it scratchy in my throat. I don't know what's going on. So here is something that was came out from Search Engine Journal, uh, which was all spurred on by they go into it here. This Gartner's prediction about AI and chatbots, and that it's going to account for a 25% drop in search market share. And they're referring to this. I'll put this in the chat. Uh, Shoot. I don't know why I can't put this in the chat. I'll drop it in the private chat, and then Craig, maybe you can put it in the
Yeah.
public chat. I'm also gonna. I'll drop this search engine article as well, and then you can drop it in the public. So it spurred on from this press release in regards to the Gartner Tech Growth and Innovation Conference that's coming up, and they kind of led off with some information in regards to their predictions about AI and search generated AI search generated content. Um, and of course, that's throwing everybody into a tizzy, right? Like, what the hell? What's going to happen? You know, is SEO going to even have an impact? And I think we talked about this, or I mentioned, either we hit this last week or whatever, and asking if you guys have gotten SGE in over in the UK yet. You know, so when somebody searches on, do you guys see that? Have you? You guys haven't gotten that yet, have you?
No, no.
Um, you know, I should say, how about how to buy boots for winter? You know, like if you just search in something, right, and you could do this, oftentimes it'll just automatically kick this out for you without even having to push the button. And you're going to get this whole crazy generative search content on here. And you can even look more. Now, I think it's interesting, right? So you can kind of see some different things that are popping up in here. And this will be, I think, how do we influence that? I think that'll be kind of the next phase in SEOs. Like, all right, how do we manage that? Because this is not always what is showing up in the organic on the first page organic. So I don't know what exactly is influencing this search here, these snippets. But so that's when we're talking about, all right, is search doomed for a 25% reduction? People like, what the, right? So how do we future proof that? If, as Gartner says, hey, by 2026 it's going to have a 25% reduction, and then this author, I don't know this guy, it's Roger Monty, something like that. This is a staff with SEJ, but he gives a nice summary of like, don't worry about it, and this is why.
Yeah.
um, but it made me think about, well, search is there. Obviously, we're in the advent of AI. And so, what the heck are we going to do with that? And how do we combat that? Um, and uh, and this, I think was a nice article to say, hey, don't get too completely bent out of shape
Yeah.
and don't get too whacked out like, all right, I'm going to have to go start working at Walmart here in a few months because, my SEO agency is going to go away. And, uh, uh, and I threw it out there as, can you future proof? And I think, Craig, you kind of nailed it, which is, whether SEOs or frankly, I would say I think everybody is this way. We're all lazy bastards. We all want the quick fix. We want give me the quick pill that I can grow my hair or lose 50 pounds or get abs of steel or whatever, right? It's like, give me something. What can I do, that I can have the quick fix to that? Or how do I rank on first page of Google? And that's why there's so many, I swear you could spend 15 minutes on the internet and and you'll run into 10 guys trying to sell you like, do this and you're going to rank on the first page, do this. Right. And you and I both know it's not just one thing.
Nope.
It's a process, it's a practice, it's all different kinds of things. But um, I do think, and I'm gonna take a detour for a second. You ready? Are you
Yep.
ready? All right. So there was a documentary, and I don't know if you know this guy, Jonah Hill.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I'll put this in. You can link this as well somewhere. I don't know why I can't drop it directly into the chat, but so this guy Jonah Hill did this documentary. I think this was about a year ago. It came out, and it's called Stut, but it's a documentary that he put out a film with him and his therapist. It's very interesting. So bear with me here. I'm going off the deep end a little bit, but it really is very interesting. I bring this up because in this thing, there's a segment in here where his therapist tells him, there are three things you can count on in life, and you have to be prepared to deal with them in your own ways as they come at you. And they can be slightly different, but there's three kind of categories essentially. And I thought it was a good baseline for some conversation today. One of which he says is pain. And
Hmm.
that could be physical pain, emotional pain, career pain, right? Business pain. The other is uncertainty, right? I can't predict what the hell's going to happen barely like 2 hours from now, let alone, 6 months from now, 2 years from now, whatever.
Yeah.
There's just uncertainty, right? Always in our lives. Um, the next that he believes is constant work. You have to consistently work. And whether it's work on losing weight, work on your career, work on your skill set, work on your relationships, work on your marriage, whatever. You have to have consistent work, and that you can't get away from it if you want to have continual improvement or if you want to have anything, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. And guys, go check out some of these resources here we dropped in the chat. Um, uh, and as we talk about future proofing your digital marketing agency or career, I think, yeah, to a degree you can. If I think back to the Stutz, the therapist, you kind of embrace like there's going to be pain. Like how many of us, even in the last like 2, 3 weeks with this latest Google algorithm, how many of us got smacked around and felt some pain? Hell, I have to tell you, I had a great a couple of great affiliate sites, and then when that HCU came out, just kicked me up and down the block and like trashed everything. And now I've been trying to like, how can I resurrect these things? Um, but man, that was painful. I was really, because I had some serious money invested into those things
Yeah.
and got my ass kicked. Um, and I wouldn't have predicted that. I mean, the element of uncertainty in that, it was like I wouldn't have like thought, yeah, Google's going to put something out that's just going to, you know, slap us and put a hurt on us on that site, and especially on these sites. I mean, they were really good content, and they were not like just best XYZ. It was not. It was really thoughtful content that I got smacked on. Um, so when you're thinking about how do we respond to some of the latest stuff, and I know there's plenty of people that got smacked in the latest algorithms. You look at Julian Goldie, you look at some of these folks, the niche lady. There's people, Craig, in our small group that have gotten hit on some of this latest stuff, right? I don't know if you got smacked around directly on anything, but on the latest one, I didn't. But on that HCU, I got kicked. So we can't always necessarily predict what in the world's coming around the corner, but we can like go, how do we work? How do I continually, I think, improve my skills? You mentioned like, expand on other platforms, even, right? Learn new skills to like, how do you do this stuff and drive traffic on social media platforms, on TikTok? How do you utilize some of that stuff? I thought about throwing out a topic about, on LinkedIn, can you use LinkedIn effectively to like connect on a B2B kind of standpoint? And maybe we can talk about that at another time or later, even if we have some time yet today. But you got to develop those skills. You got to think, how can I get better at what it is that we're doing, whether it's data analysis, whether it's understanding the latest algorithm and what's impacted it, and how can you then respond to it. And then as well, kind of the strategic thinking. Kind of throughout, you go out and you do speaking and, you build your personal brand, but you're thinking about, how do I get bigger and better and disperse rather than just one thing? And I think that is absolutely critical in today's world of digital marketing. I don't know. There we go. But this article is something here. I have to tell you. So the whole concept about, is traffic going to drop 25%, by 2026 because of AI search? And I think this is really is interesting. And this thing is, we can look at a few of these different points, but he's like, hey, there really isn't an AI search engine. And I think, how does he state it? He goes, uh, aren't really search engines in practice. They're just chat bots that are inserted between the searcher and the traditional search engine. I thought that was an interesting comment. I don't know if that's true or not, but I thought, that's interesting. It's not ready for wide scale use. It's not economically viable, right? Some of this stuff in here, it's unrealistic, and he gives some reasons why he thinks it's unrealistic. Um, I thought this was kind of interesting because even in the latest, and I don't know, even if I heard Diggity even talk about this, that EEAT is all bullshit. It's not real. It's not a ranking factor. I don't know what your thoughts are on that at all, but
I mean, I don't think you can say it's bullshit. I think Google do look at other sources for information, but the way that it's presented by certain people is potentially bullshit. It's essentially links. Call it what you like. You
right,
need to be cited on these other sources for Google
right.
to take you seriously. You call it links, call it what you like. Is it a ranking factor? Is it not? That obviously there's much debate on how much of a ranking factor that is, but it makes a lot of sense for me personally for Google to look at that stuff. So
Yeah.
why wouldn't? I'm not saying it's the be all and end all. There's sites out there that don't have it that still rank very well, but I don't think it's complete BS. But I do think potentially the way it's presented by others as if it's the be all and end all is also BS. So
Yeah.
be somewhere in the middle of all of that.
I do think I like this statement in here. He's like, hey, trustworthiness is not something that's added to content like a feature, right? It's the sum of experience and expertise over multiple pieces and multiple platforms or places where you may be positioned, right? So
Yeah,
on TikTok, on Instagram, in Facebook, on a LinkedIn page. It's the sum of all of that that builds up the EEAT. And I think that is a very good point. And it really hooks into kind of what we've already talked about is like to future proof your agency and what you're doing. You've got to expand across to all of these different platforms and demonstrate your expertise, your ability, and your skill set and what you're doing. Yeah, I think that's good stuff. But yeah, so anyway, I just wanted to share, I think, some of this content, and maybe spur some conversation around it. I thought it was interesting, but I did like this article and this guy's approach because I think it even started last year. Kyle Roof and the IMG guys are doing their SEO Reborn. They're kind of online SEO conference. It's this week, actually.
yeah.
And guys, if you're listening and you haven't seen it, go check it out. You can attend for free, actually. The live event. So you can go register, get the link, attend for free. It's like Wednesday and Thursday this week. I think it's like 11 to 4 or something like that Eastern time. I don't know what it is, calculate that on your own world time. But and then you can buy the recordings if you want. But last year at that event is where a bunch of guys were talking about AI and how to use AI and what to do with it and that kind of thing. And I think it was, Ryan Durante, I think, was doing a presentation in there. A bunch of other folks. Ryan Stewart was in there. Ryan Stewart was interesting because he was like in the camp, oh, search is going to drop 30%, in the next year or something like that. And I don't, search certainly has changed and will continue to change, but go check that out, folks, if you're looking for a nice, I think, challenge your thinking on some stuff. And it's all back to like the consistently work or constant work. Got to develop those skills. So go attack something for free. All right, I'm going to stop talking. I know we got some questions in here. All right. I would love to hear, by the way, before you jump, I'd love to hear others, man. You guys got some comments about the future proofing and any of this other stuff? Jonah Hill's therapist about the things you can count on in life: pain, uncertainty, and constant work. I'd love to hear that. I'd love to hear your thoughts, Craig. What do you think about that?
I think it's very right. If anyone thinks you can just go sailing through life and everything's just on the up and up, you would be seriously mistaken. You are,
Yeah,
like you say, you have to constantly develop your skills. You're going to have pain of some kind. Whether that's business pain, whether that's a website being hit, whether it's a client dropping off, whether it's a confrontation with one of your industry peers. There's going to be a lot of different hurdles along the way, and
yeah,
I think you have to keep working and better yourself and all of that stuff. So again, things like that make a hell of a lot of sense to me. I felt a lot of pain, made a lot of mistakes, had a lot of arguments, even went bankrupt a few times in my earlier years in business. So there's been a lot to the 22 years I've been in the industry, and you know, it, it's been a tough apprenticeship, if you want to call it that. I've made a lot of mistakes, and I don't care. I hold my hands up and say, yeah, fuck it, I done this, shouldn't have done that. Had big arguments with people, fights with people, all of that stuff. So call that pain. We'll call it that. That is what you
Yeah.
have to do. And I've come out the other side for it better and hopefully more switched on. So I totally agree with it.
Yeah. You know what? And I think that you are absolutely right. You know, you do stuff in life. I saw Dale's got a question. I'll put this in the private chat. You can throw it in there, Craig, on the SEO Reborn. You know, which is, you know, you go through stuff and you can't really always, you say you went through bankrupt. Well, when you started your business, you didn't think that you had all like, hey, we're gonna make this thing work and this is gonna be freaking awesome, right? You
Yeah.
can't, there's uncertainty. But I guarantee, I'm sure that you learned from it and
Ah,
moved on,
yeah,
right?
like, it wasn't the end of the world. You know, I'd
God, no.
probably bitten off more than I could chew. Just balancing the books and all of that kind of stuff didn't go to plan. And I was an SEO, not a businessman. I had to learn a lot more about the business side. So it was an area of weakness. And yeah, you're gonna do that, and you start again and regroup and try and make sure you don't make an ass
Yeah.
of it the next time. So I wouldn't say it was fun. It was horrible, but
Well, sure.
but
Never fun getting your ass kicked, right? But there's a great quote in one of the Rocky movies. I don't know which one it is, but Rocky Balboa, you know that guy. He's got there's a great segment in a movie that's all over the internet, but it basically just says like, hey, it doesn't matter that you get knocked down. What matters is if you get back up, and what do you do at that point? And it's like it's like, we're all going to fail at some point, but that doesn't mean that you're a failure. You get back up and you jump back into the fight, and that's what's important. That's one of the things I try to teach my kids, and my wife and I constantly have this conversation. How do you teach your kids to fail, and do it in a safe way, but teach them to fail, because failure is a part of life, and you're going to have times when you're going to fail, whether it's like, I didn't get the A on the test that I wanted, I didn't get the job that I wanted, my business failed, I didn't want that, obviously. What, right? There's going to be times we're going to fail in life, and I think teaching kids that the important lesson is, it's okay if you fail, but how do you respond to that? How do you get back up and do that? I'm always like, creating or thinking about, how can I teach my kids to fail safely, right? In a safe environment. Uh, and so that, like, if they fail now, if my daughter fails, she's 16. If she fails in something right now, I mean, there's some things that she could really fail in and change her life forever. But, you know, but if she fails at something right now, chances are it's not going to be life changing for the most part. I mean, there are a few things that could be, but for the most part, she's 16. What the hell?
yeah.
She gets pregnant, that could be a problem. But, can we create an environment for her that can teach her, like, it's okay to fail and move on, right? And that's the important thing.
Oh, what's the what? If I fail again tomorrow, I'll be back. Don't worry about that. I'll
Yeah.
be back doing something and making money somehow. So fuck it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes. Yes.
but
All right. Questions. So get in here.
Emmanuel and anyone else who's got questions, please put them in the chat. We will get to them. Even if they're not about this topic, we'll try and help you. This is obviously off topic. Could you please explain how you charge and spend SEO budget? Do you separate the charges like SEO budget and then a service fee? How do you do it, Randy? Obviously, you've got an agency that people maybe not be that aware of, but you do service clients? How do you do it?
Well, I do think there's a lot of different ways that agencies do things. Some people price things out on a kind of on a service, like, when you have a client, we don't do it this way, but if you have a client, you're like, hey, you're going to need X number of links every month. You're going to need content. You're going to need social posting. And then they price out each one of those buckets, and that's what they charge them on a monthly, right? So, and you would have to do some back end work on that, like look at, what kind of links do they need, and based on how many links and how many links they need per month to build up and to make a splash, your resources, it's going to cost you this, and so you're going to charge like cost plus, right, your profit, and that's what you're going to tell the client. So if you can get 20 links and that's what they're going to need each month, and that's going to cost you $300 through your sources or whatever, you're going to tell the client it's $300 plus 50% or 100% or whatever, right? So some people do it that way. Uh, the way that we do it is we kind of do an audit. We have a consult with the client first to understand what it is that they would like to do. We need to understand like how competitive the marketplace is, or the niche that they're in, and what's going to be required to do what they want to do. And then we kind of back into it from there. And so we make some decision like, well, we think they're going to need X number of links. We're going to do some on-page SEO ongoing. And maybe they need some deeper work on their website. And so we'll kind of back in through a process on understanding what our costs are, and then do a cost plus, and then that's what we kind of throw at the client. But we do set, as well, kind of a minimum amount that we're not going to work with a client, and understand if we do a minimum monthly is X amount, and that could be different for everybody, right? But that's kind of the approach that we do. And then you just spend, you get the best deal you can on your cost end of it. And whether it's with tools that you're doing, or your staff that you're doing, or the outside resources that you're doing, you're just trying to get the best deal so you can protect your margin as best as you can.
Yeah. Protect your margin, but Emmanuel, don't set one way. Figure out what people in your location are doing, and stuff like that. Different places do it different ways, but
Yeah.
most people do the monthly retainer, and in their own head they'll break it all down. So yeah, I need to buy a PR from Randy, that costs X, and and they build out that, and obviously add their margin on, and that's the retainer job done. And whether obviously you want to give the client deliverables, and show them, whether it be the PR, whether it be the links you acquire, whether it be the content you create, or whether it's an audit, try and give them something to look at. That always helps retention and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's always a challenge, and especially if you're kind of starting out with your agency and what it is that you're doing, because you want to get clients. You also are into it to try to make money. And so, what I'm going to charge in my neck of the woods from an agency is going to be very different than what somebody in another state or another community in the United States is serving, versus in the UK and right in Glasgow, what an agency there is going to charge to do local SEO, we'll say. And so costs are different. Expectations are different as well, right? In those different communities, like what a business is expecting to pay for local SEO in Glasgow is going to be different than what they're expecting and maybe willing to pay, here in the States.
Willing to pay is the big thing.
Yeah.
People in Glasgow, for example, are
Cheap
probably
bastard.
years behind. They're years behind. So are we able to get $1,000 or $2,000 a month for someone for local? No. you get it all day long in America. But people in Glasgow probably want to pay, I don't know, between $300 and $500 a month. And you are going to struggle at that point to be able to service those clients. So it's
Right.
what the clients are willing to pay, not necessarily what you should be charging. That's the big problem. So many guys newer to the industry are undercharging and they're sucking it up because the people in their area or their low-level clients are dictating what you should be charging. So
Right.
you have a cost. Randy's shit costs money. A staff member doing your work, they cost money. You also have to be making a profit. So
Right.
otherwise, what's the fucking point? You go bankrupt like me. So
Yeah, I do think, if you're an agency, you're starting out, Emmanuel, and you're like, okay, I want to, make this thing work. I have to be honest with you, and I'm not telling you like you got to be as cheap as you can, but you've got to set your rate at a point where you're trying to sign the client and, make a little bit of money if you can, but, be on the lower end so you can win the client, prove your skill, prove that you can do what you're stating you can do. And once you get some traction with that, and then you can use, that first client to demonstrate proof of skill and ability to the next client. And then at some point you can so instead of saying, hey, our local SEO costs $500 a month, after a month or 2 or 3, you can now it costs $750 a month. And the business wow, that's crazy. What? But you can say well, let me show you why. We have this client, we started working, they were here, and now we have them here. And it costs money to do that. And so once you can demonstrate your effectiveness, then you can demand more as well.
yeah. But Randy, how many people are in your city? Roughly.
Well, so I live in the greater Cleveland DMA, or demographic market area. And there's right about 5 million people in that market space. Yeah.
I was going to say, is it $1 million to give him a rough idea of what people are charging?
Yeah.
So he's suggesting for a plumber client in a population of 1 million in the US, what's the minimum he should be charging?
Well, I have to tell you. So if it's a million, now you got to remember, as a local plumber as well. I mean, that guy's not going to, if he's in the map, because that's the most critical piece right now. You're I got to get you in the map for plumbing services, right? And generally it's going to be plumbing services, geographic, hemmed in from a geographic standpoint. Now, if that guy's no, I want to own this whole freaking market, well, there's a lot of work that's going to have to get done with that. And, yeah, and it all depends upon the guy's site as well. Does he have a bunch of, a city of 1 million people in the US, you're going to have little neighborhoods or suburbs as part of that, right? So I say I live in this 5 million DMA here in the US, but I don't know how many different little communities are in there. I mean, it's crazy amount. But if you want to rank in all those, you got to have a kind of a local service page and pages in each of those. I mean, you could be building out hundreds of pages for that, and you'd have to demonstrate that, I think, to the client. So, if we were taking on again, you go and you do some homework to understand what it is, but you're probably looking at minimum 2,000, 2,500 is what I'm thinking, assuming this guy doesn't have much of anything. That we're going to have to do a lot of page creation and structure on his website. We're going to buy and build out a lot of stuff for them. So if they're already ranking, they already have all this other stuff, that price could come down, but it's not cheap.
Yeah, it's certainly not cheap. There's a lot of cost involved. So price it based on that and what you need to put out for. and a little bit on top for yourself.
Right.
Hi, Christian Hansel.
Hey, nice.
Michael Close or Close. What is the fastest strategy for generating 50 a day for affiliates? Randy?
I have to tell you what, I have seen so much stuff. I have not done it just because it's like I don't have another hand to free up to do something with. But I see people all day long that are just freaking killing it on Reddit comments. And if I had to tell somebody right now in today's world, because it is it's working. I mean, people are absolutely doing it. I mean, if you looked at even like at that thing that I threw up, right? How to buy boots. If you look at the organic search here's freaking Reddit is in what are they in the number 3 spot in organic search, and then Quora. So Reddit comments right now, people are freaking killing it in Reddit comments. I mean, there are guys I know that are doing $1,000 a day on, generating on Reddit comments. So there's all different kinds of ways to go do it. But even, Craig, one of our mates, Stuart Vickers, he's demonstrated some of his videos out there. SEO Jesus. He's like showing how you can go make several $100 a day doing this shit. So that would be my point. Like, go do Reddit comments. I think you'll make some money. I don't know how long it'll last, but you can at least make some bank. And oftentimes isn't that it where you're like, man, if you can make the bank now, go do it. It may get shut off in a month or 6 months, but
You could get fucking 6 years out of it, though. That's the thing. So
yeah,
go do it and use whatever money you're making to do something else that might
exactly.
last a bit longer. So
Well, go make the money, and then you can build out and and go pursue another venture. And
yeah,
just like, and I know, Craig, you're like me on this. It's like, dude, you got to have multiple streams of revenue. It can't just be I'm just a marketing agency.
no,
You'll get fucked when COVID hits again, right? I mean, you gotta have multiple channels of revenue. So go start the Reddit thing. And then when that money's coming in, go start something else, like pull in another stream of revenue, and then go start something else. Like I think you should have like at minimum 3 different channels of revenue. You just
yeah,
can't.
that's the wisest move. But Christian is tech SEO in the news industry. Christian is certain that regular SEO will go down in the near future thanks to ML and AI and people thinking they can do it all themselves. What is your opinion? We have pretty much spoke about that throughout the 45 minutes, in terms of embracing different traffic sources. It's not all about organic SEO or organic traffic. You can go to TikTok, you can go to YouTube, you can speak at events, you can do paid, all of these kind of things. I think there's a lot of scaremongering and stuff goes on with, a lot of the narrative that people are thrown around and people don't know. Now, we do know that AI has become massive, certainly in the last couple of years, first with Jasper and now ChatGPT and everything else. We always knew that was going to get slammed. If you say you didn't, I think you're very naive. So, it's no surprise that what's happened has happened. I've always been on the fence with pure AI content as much as I'd love to push a button. I really, on anything that generates me money, I've stayed well clear of it. I've obviously played with it, tested it, think AI is great for social media, whatever else. But you can't do it all yourself. at the moment, you still have to do a little bit of work. And will regular SEO go down in the near future? They've been saying it's dead since 2003. We're 21 years past that, and people are still saying it again. And I understand the reasons why people might think that, but
Yeah.
it evolves. That is it, and you have to evolve with it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to struggle.
Yeah. And well, so Christian, I think your first comment was like, "Hey, I'm late to the game again." So you were late. When the replay, when the thing is over and the thing's posted, go listen to the first half hour, and you'll see our thoughts on this. But go read the Search Engine Journal article. The link is in the comments up there, and go check that out. To give you some thought on it as well. I do think, and Craig, I want to hit on that. Maybe go hit my screen again to put on the share. I do think so. This is the SGE, Google SGE, right? And so I just like, hey, some stupid search, right? How to buy boots for winter, only because we got like 2 inches of snow again last night. I'm like, good Lord, I'm done with this snow. But this is what an SGE search looks like. We still have organic down here, right? But I think it'll be interesting. I've yet to see anybody, and because I don't think it's gotten, this is not out worldwide yet, and so I think it's still somewhat limited, but is to understand how we can begin to influence these snippets here, because they will get traffic, obviously, and that's SEO, right? I mean, that's what we do. Is like, how do we influence our site, our client, so that they can land on these snippets like this, rather than just in search or just in maps, right? That's all what we're always trying to do. So, as we talked early on, it was like, hey, we got to exercise some new skill sets and figure this out. But I think it will happen, and and when you figure it out, and if Christian, if you're one of the first guys that can figure this out, guaranteed you have set yourself up for life.
Yeah. Wherever it's pulling from, obviously we've had a small amount of testing on it here in the
Yeah.
UK, but where it's pulling from seems to be anyone's guess. Because
And
it's not.
maybe these are just the snippets, the rich snippets. Maybe these are, what we would traditionally think of when we see a snippet. I'm not sure.
It's bizarre. No, but when I've been playing with it, some of the results just don't make sense, man. They just don't.
Well, that's a whole nother thing. Yeah.
They're literally plucking these out their ass
Yeah.
somewhere. But I'm sure that will change, and maybe we need to be tweaking some form of feeding into some form of AI or whatever. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that's for another
Yeah.
day.
But here's where you can make money right now. Go make bank. Emmanuel, Christian, boom.
Michael, it was
Michael. Yeah.
Reddit. Check that out. But
Reddit's going public here this week.
really,
Yeah, yeah, you can go buy shares in Reddit later this week. I don't know, probably Thursday is my guess. Wednesday, Thursday, those are always good initial offering days. But yeah,
they've got to strike while the iron's hot, because I really
I
don't
know.
see that being
Yeah,
allowed to continue for
yeah.
much longer. I really can't.
I think I'm gonna buy some. I'm not. This is not financial advice, folks. But I uh, I think they're looking at an initial price of like 31 to 34 bucks a share, which is not bad. I didn't think that was bad. So
Get involved if you've got
yeah,
some money to test out. So
I know it. Yeah,
um, why the fuck not?
I know it. You ever have problems? I just did this hand signal thing. I know you've got one of the Insta 360 cameras, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever have a problem with that thing like moving around and like, dude, I don't want you to move around. Stop. And then I talk a lot with my hands. You never talk. You probably got your hands in your crotch, right? I I do a lot of this stuff. And so, but then when I do that, it sets off the Insta and tells it like, now track him, don't track him. And I'm
Yeah.
like, drives me
Nah, it
crazy.
it does it now and again where it's just fucking pans off to the right or whatever, but,
Yeah.
um, I'm pretty sure there's a setting where you can stop that from happening.
Well, yeah, that's what the hand signal that I was doing
Ah,
before that you can do, set it. And I think I could just tell it not to do it ever.
yeah.
And that would be okay. But sometimes I like it doing it. But anyway, I don't know. I'm complaining, but
I've seen
that's
it
what
when you've walked out, not on one of these, but like on a mastermind call or whatever, and you walk out your room and it follows, and you can just see that
yeah.
door open.
Yeah, and then I've had it then when it's done that, and then it kind of locks there, like it
Yeah,
freezes, and so then I'm, like, doing all kinds of gyrations to try to get it back. Anyway, yeah, crazy.
but
Uh,
yeah, so future-proofing your digital marketing career, I think,
there we go.
we touched
It
on a lot of the things, just embracing change and developing yourself and all of that good stuff. But anything else that anyone in the audience want to throw in that we can put up on screen for anyone
yeah.
watching? You've
I
got
see
it.
Terry Power is, if he's still there or not. I see Terry is in there. Terry's always got a good kind of philosophical bent on life. I always Terry's got, just that good old boy kind of like solid perspective on life. I always appreciate him. Yeah. Fred Hunter, right below Terry on the chat, it's got a question. I have no idea, so I'll let you answer that one.
For starting a Yelp-like business successfully, please. I haven't done a directory type business, to be honest, Fred. I'm not even sure I would consider it. I think directories and Yelp and all that, there were a lot of these things were set up, 20 years ago or whenever it may be. Um, is there any real benefit or real money to be made having a directory? I'm sure there's traffic and ad revenue and all of that stuff. But are you really going to beat guys who've been around for 20 years? Some of those big, real old school directories just with tons and tons of data on it. I think it would be a big, big ask. Why would someone come to your directory first and foremost to put their stuff on there? Um, and and is that content going to be unique? That these are the things people do citations and they copy and paste the same bullshit on every directory. They then don't get indexed. The directory doesn't offer value. Blah 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 blah. I think some of the kind of Yelps and the bigger directories, the reason they do so well is they were first in the door. The content they've got is unique,
Mhm.
it's historic, Google trust it, and so on. I think just the way that people behave, copy and paste, using it as a link resource, using it as a freebie.
Mm,
I think I'm not saying you can't do it. People do, of course, launch directories, but doing a Yelp, it's very, very broad. Maybe a niche directory you could get away with, like, I don't know, podiatrists or psychiatrists or dental or
right,
something. You,
right.
you may have more of a chance, but Yelp, I've never done it, and it's not something I personally would consider. But Randy, I don't know if you would, if you had a few quid there, would you go down that route?
No, I would not. Uh, and I think you kind of hit on all of the cylinders with that so far. But the other thing is, so when you stated there's already so many of these big guns in the market, and these guys have invested a lot of money to be where they are right now, which means they're going to continue to invest a lot of money and do what they have to do in order to stay on the first page. So whether they've got to like continue, they're going to buy ads, they're going to link, they're going to buy links, whatever they need to do, because they may have millions of dollars already invested in this stuff. They're not just going to like lay back and go, well, it's been a good ride. They're like, oh, no, we got to continue to juice this. Well, this is an asset. How do we leverage this? I think it's just really hard to compete with some of those big guns. If you did go down that road, I think, as you mentioned, Craig, I think it would be a very specific niche and not a kind of like roofers. I wouldn't, I think you got to go in a real like narrow kind of niche, like podiatrist,
Yeah.
foot surgeon, right? I mean, something that uh, might not have a ton of traffic in comparison to like plumbers or roofers, but you might have I think, a better fighting chance than uh, going down a real broad, like a Yelp kind of thing. But I don't know. I've looked at it, I've thought about the directories, and it just seemed like to me a lot of work for the risk just seemed too high. A lot of work without the idea of a good payout.
Yeah, no, I would agree. But prove us wrong. I think if you had the right budget and the right team behind you, potentially it could happen. But I think one key thing you said there, Randy, a lot of the Yale, for example, have a sales team who are selling websites, who are selling paid ads and all that kind of stuff. There's millions of pounds being spent on marketing by these guys. So are you going to be able to just chip up, an open source directory platform and get the same levels of traffic and everything else? I'm not so sure. And even if you were to go down the podiatrist route, for example, how the hell are you going to be making money from this?
Right.
Because you're obviously not going to get the same levels of traffic that a generic directory would get. So my concern would be, how are you going to monetize that?
Yeah. So, and I would tell you something that I would look at. So if you're, I don't remember who was asking the question on that, but if you are looking like, hey, should I go down that? It was that Fred, I think. I would look at local lead gen sites. I think that still has got the opportunity where you can make money. If it's a, local Cleveland podiatrist, right? Go do exact kind of match key domains, go build out a great lead gen site, go sell those leads. I think that seems like a much easier way to like connect the dots from A to B, that I'm going to get paid. I do something, I'm going to get paid. That's what I'm looking for, right? How do I see? My damn thing just went again because I'm talking with my hands. But I always look at something. If I do this, how long or how difficult is it for me to get paid on doing that? And that's why I never looked at directories, because that seems like a lot of blasted work. And how I get paid from it is a little up in the air to me. I mean, I should say it's a little greater risk versus uh, I could go build out a bunch of local lead gen sites, either sell the leads to some of these aggregators out there, or go find a local provider and sell the leads to them directly. But that seems like a little easier connection of effort paid.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, being paid.
Yeah, absolutely, right?
Fuck everything else. How to get the money quickly. I think
Yeah,
the directory would just seem to be a hell of a long-winded approach to making money.
yeah.
But don't want to put you off. But David Taylor says the snippets for SGE are probably being pulled through from a Google Sheet or a G Sheet, which on my research, that could be accurate, because some of the stuff on there was complete and utter dog shit. Randy, what does this do?
I'm doing the hand signal to freeze my camera again.
This is supposed to fall for the hand signal. That's going to follow it.
Supposedly, well, it does. So when you put your, like what I was doing, because I don't want to do it because it will engage it again. It changes. You'll see on the Insta 360, on the base of it, it'll kind of flash like a blue,
Yeah.
and that's saying that it's reading what the command and then will do. So yeah. Anyway, sorry.
But yeah,
Too much talking with my hands. This is why.
that's a Graham Grieve method. That's all he does is just the old hand move around everywhere.
All right. I think we hit stuff. I don't know if there's some other questions out there that we didn't get to, but I wanted to be sure we got on some of those. But anyway, well, that was a good conversation. Hopefully we'll get Holly back on the horn next week.
Yes, Holly hopefully will be back next week. She will be. We'll just get her told. But we do appreciate everyone who came. Please do give us a like and subscribe on the channel. Also, do check out channel sponsor 38 Digital Market. The link is below. And also go and check out Randy the News Guy. He does do stuff over on YouTube as well. Interviews.
Yeah, I got a great show with Marty Marion tomorrow morning. Dude, have you ever talked with Marty?
Yes.
That guy, you could have a 20-minute conversation and feel like you just got a college course on marketing. That man is so bright. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time. So check it out.
Over on his YouTube, Randy the News Guy.
Yeah.
Check it out, everyone. But thank you, everyone, for this week. We'll be back at the same time next week. See you soon.
All right.
Cheers.